Hello, my fellow scientists. Welcome to another episode of Science is Everywhere, the home edition. My name is Marie Lanka, and I'm coming to you from the Children's Discovery Museum of San Jose virtually, as we're all sheltering in place and taking care of ourselves at home. So we talked a little bit about sensational sound waves on Monday, and I promised that we'd have an episode 2 to talk a little bit more about some other ways that we can discuss sound waves. So we talked a little bit about liquids on Monday, and we played with different sounds with our glasses and all of that. So I'm going to back up just a little bit and get a little bit more in detail about sound waves and solids and air. Because we did a little bit of experimenting to start on Monday, which is usually where you begin, and then you get into a little bit more detail. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to throw a new vocabulary word into your world. We're going to then do an experiment, talk a little bit about how that relates back to that word, and then do a second experiment, which is a little loud. So that's pretty enjoyable. All right. So what is this new word that I'm going to throw into your world? You may have heard this word before. It's called pitch. Okay, we're not talking about baseball today. We're talking about sound today. So how would pitch fit into sound and solids and air? All those things mixed together may be a little confusing. Well, pitch is a way of describing sound. So let's do a little experiment and check out how that word maybe is used, and then we'll get into a little bit more detail. So how are we going to do this experiment? Well, the first one, you're going to need a hardback book, and hopefully you have one with you. I picked a small one just because it's a little bit easier for me to handle. And you're also going to need 2 pencils. You can use pens too, straws work as well, just something that I'll show you how we're going to use in just a second. And then you're going to need, I'm going to start with 1 rubber band, but after you see this experiment, you may want more than 1, but just to start, we're just going to need the 1. All right, so now that we know our materials for that first experiment, let's take a look at how to do that experiment.
All right, now I've got my materials. I have my book. I have my rubber band over here. And I have a pencil, and I've got a pen here just to show you you can use different materials like we already talked about. Okay, so how are we going to do this first experiment? Well, we are going to take this rubber band here, and we're going to put it around our book. We can either go this way or we can go this way, but we want to make sure that this rubber band's tight. So I'm going to go this way, and the best you can, if you look, you see there's little twists sometimes. You want to try and undo those. Just roll it around until it goes away. And so it should be good all the way around. All right, so now I'm going to do my next part of this experiment. I'm going to put a pen down here. And again, this is just showing you can use different materials. Let's go. That, okay. And then I'm going to take my pencil, my other thing that's going to hold this rubber band up. So there we go. So now we've got the rubber band kind of stretched out. And if you look this way, you see how it's kind of standing up. It's not actually touching the book. There we go. All right. So now that we've done that, we can start our experiment. So I'm going to pluck the middle part of this and see what it sounds like. Here we go. And you can even see it's moving just a little bit there, right? Vibration. Okay, so now I want to shorten this up just a little bit. It's pretty long from here to here. I'm going to pull this down. So that's where it used to be. Pull it down to about there. And I'm going to kind of hold it with my hand just to make sure that doesn't move around. And pluck it again. Oh. What's happening? Sounds like it's getting higher, right? With it getting shorter? And does it look like it's vibrating as much? All right, so let's try our theory. We're going to pull it down just a little bit further. Make sure those don't go anywhere. I'm going to get a little bit of a twist, but that's okay. And that's even higher again. Okay, so how does that have to do with all of the different things that we have been discussing with pitch? Let's find out.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about pitch. You may have noticed when the rubber band was longer, the note was lower. Pitch, if it's longer, pitch is going to be lower. Okay, what happens when it shortened it? It got higher. So the pitch was higher or high. So let's try that one more time. I got my book here. So here it is. Take a look across the board. That's longer, right? Getting closer. That's the low note. And if I was to shorten it up, there's a higher pitch or high pitch. Okay, you guys ready for that loud part of the experiment? So before I leave this experiment, what you could do is if you want to use multiple rubber bands and either stretch them out tighter or have them be longer or shorter, you can actually do kind of like what we did with our glasses and come up with different notes and make different songs. All right, so you guys ready for the loud one? We're going to now do pitch with a straw, and we are going to make an instrument and experiment a little bit more with high and low pitch. So what we found with the rubber bands is that the lower note or the lower pitch was the longer rubber band, the vibrations. The higher pitch was a shorter one. I wonder if that would work with a straw. All right, so let's show you how we're going to make an instrument, kind of like what you just did, but out of a straw. So let's get a close-up view of this, and then I'll show you how to use it. Here we go.
Okay, so this part of the experiment seems a little bit more simple, but honestly, I gotta say this is a little bit more fun. All right, at least in my opinion. You're going to get your straw, and this can be any type of straw that you have. Usually we like to use stuff that is a little bit bendable, a little bit malleable. So you don't want to use your like hard plastic ones that you take around that will kind of go with you in your purse or whatnot. Okay, so we've got our big straw here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pinch one side of it. And here's why. Okay, so I'm going to pinch it. You kind of see I'm doing that. Okay, once that's kind of flat, it doesn't have to be fully flat. I'm going to cut here on the end and make kind of a triangle end. So here we go. So I'm going to take my scissors. I'm just going to go down, and this doesn't have to, again, be precise. You don't have to measure this out. Okay, so you can see I cut a little bit off there. Get it a little close. Okay, and then I'm going to take it and cut the other way. Oops, I'll do a little bit more here. And if you mess up and have to go back and cut it again, that's totally fine. You can flatten a little bit more if you need to, but essentially, there you go. You got your triangle end. So you can see that's what it looks like the other way. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and use this to experiment a little bit more with pitch.
All right, my fellow scientists, so you have your straw ready now, and I'm going to get that closer one more time because this camera's a little bit better. So there's the triangle that I cut at the top. When I go sideways, you can see there's two little pieces there. And those two are going to vibrate together. So here's how you're going to use this. You're going to put this in your mouth so that those two little pieces are actually inside. Don't bite down, and you're going to blow through this. And what you're trying to do is make these two vibrate against one another, and you make it a sound. Go ahead and try that with yours. And this is going to be loud, and that's okay. So remember, don't bite down, and you want the pieces, so there's the pieces there, like this. I want it like this. So this is the top of my mouth, this is the other, or in the bottom. Is it working for you? You may get a really, really high note at first when it's just the air moving, but what we're trying to do is get these two to vibrate together to make that sound. All right, so taking a look at my instrument here, the pitch, we now know what the normal pitch is. What would happen if I made this longer, kind of like what we did with the rubber band when it was longer? What do you think is going to happen to the pitch? It should get lower, right? So what you could do is you could extend this out. So if you have another straw, I'm going to go ahead and tuck that in. So here's the sound, just normal. Now I'm going to tuck this in and make it a little bit longer. So the pitch should be, what do you think? Lower? Okay. Does sound a little lower, right? Woo. And you may notice you feel that in your ears. That's the vibration going on. Okay, so let's go back to our normal straw. Okay, what would happen if I made it shorter? What would happen to the pitch? Would probably get higher. Okay, so here's that pitch again. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this shorter as I am blowing in the top so you can hear how it changes. So once you listen to it first, and then if you have another scientist in the house, they can help you out with this. You could also make multiple straws if you want to, but this makes a little bit more of an impact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start blowing on this, and you can try this. Just make sure you have an adult or another scientist with you. And you're going to go ahead and clip little pieces off, see what happens to the sound. So here we go. That was weird. So now here's the sound. That pitch is a lot higher, right? It still sounds really funny, but that pitch is higher. So that's how you can experiment with pitch as well. Now you may go through a couple of different straws to get this to work that way, and that's totally fine. It takes a little bit of practice to get that to actually make the noise that you want. But that's how you can experiment with pitch. So you can make all different lengths of straws and see how they sound. Now be aware that if you're using different straws, so if I'm using a smaller straw and then I go to a bigger straw, that may change the pitch too. Why is that? It brings us all the way back to what we were talking about at the beginning, solids and air. So the solids are vibrating, the air is vibrating, but as soon as we change the solid, because the air is pretty much going to stay the same, it's going to vibrate in a different way. So every solid vibrates a little bit different. And if you want another example of that, go back and watch the rubber band as it's actually springing back and forth. It's vibrating, but it vibrates different, whether or not it's tight or it's longer or shorter. All of that stuff is going to change your pitch. So have fun with this. Be aware, again, these are kind of loud. So if you have neighbors, you definitely want to make sure you're somewhat away from them before you try this. And I can almost guarantee that no matter where in your house or your apartment that you do this, that everyone else in the house or apartment is going to know that you're doing this. So it's fun with science, with pitch, with high and low, but it's also rather obvious that you're doing this experiment. So have fun. We would love to hear if you're able to put a whole bunch of different pitches together to make a song, kind of like what we did with the water. And we didn't do that here because we had a couple of different things we wanted to show you, but now is your chance to go ahead and expand on what you just did with us, both with the rubber bands. You can do more than one, you can do different sizes, and the straws, again, different sizes, different lengths. So go ahead and tell us how yours went, and we hope you enjoyed this. So that'll wrap us up for Sensational Sound Waves for now. We may revisit it if there's some other things that you guys would like to learn about. Go ahead and let us know in the comments. And thank you for tuning in, fellow scientists. We will see you again very soon. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you for watching our virtual Purple Museums broadcast. If you're enjoying this content, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Our broadcasts are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Stay in the loop by joining our email list by visiting www.cdm.org. Sign up today.